Hey everyone, it's Christina of Crafty Paws. I'm here to do a quick video share of a little springtime wreath that I made for a crafty friend as a surprise. It's a wreath form that's done on chipboard, and I've put lots of laces and trims and buttons and pearls, appliques, some beautiful pearl back buttons and flowers from Flair by Me, that's Mel's store. I'll put a link in the description box below so you can check out her shop, but she has beautiful appliques and lots of awesome yumminess for crafting. And I made this little wreath a while back, and I decided I was going to remove some other things that I had attached to them and reattach these adorable Greeting Farm Pegasus. And actually this one is a unicorn, but I masked off the unicorn and made this one into a Pegasus too. So all three of these cute little Pegasus are all little flying fantasy creatures. And I colored them all up with my Copic markers, and I added these little white dot details, which I think makes the hair look super magical and bejeweled. And I thought I would come on here and share a quick little coloring tutorial just to share with you guys how I go about adding those little details after I color up the hair, the mane and the ponytail. So let me share with you guys really quick where these cute little images came from. They're from the Greeting Farm. It's Magical Day, Your Wings, and Magical Friends. And I didn't use all of them, obviously. I only picked 3 for this little wreath. And I will share with you guys the coloring process for another little cutie. I hope you enjoy the coloring process. This little unicorn from the Greeting Farm's Magical Day stamp set, I'm coloring up to have violet or purple hair. And I'm starting with the lightest color. This is a Copic V12, and I'm hitting all the areas of the hair, the tail, the mane, whatever you want to call it, the high top points with this lightest color because I want those areas to have the lightest highlights. Next, I'm going in with my darkest. This is a V09, and I'm following all the stamped lines of the mane, and you can see behind the unicorn's body, the face, all of those areas that I think will be in shadow. I'm using this dark V09. And there I'm just following the lines of the stamp. It really helps a lot to think about the light being not as accessible or visible on the underside. And there you saw I did a squiggly line. That was just because I hadn't turned the image in the right direction for me to get a good clean swoop. So remember, feel comfortable turning the image around and around as you need to. I'm just adding more little flick marks, trying to get a good baseline for the coloring of the hair. And now I've moved on to the mid-tone. This is a V06, and I'm trying to bridge the gap between the darkest V09 and the lightest V12. And I'm basically flicking in the same direction that I was trying to flick in with the darkest shade, but extending the flick marks a little bit further out from where I did originally with the darkest. And I'm not liking that the transition is so broad, or the gap between the mid-tone and the darkest is too big. So I'm doing some tip-to-tip coloring. I've got the darker color in my left hand, and in my right hand I'm touching it with the lighter V06, and that transfers some of the darker ink onto the lighter pen. And I'm basically adding one more step. I'm adding that extra mid-tone that's a little bit darker so that that transition from the darkest tone to the mid-tone is bridged a little bit better, a little smoother. So doing this kind of tip-to-tip coloring really can extend the versatility of your Copic markers. You don't need as many Copic markers, in other words. Now I'm going in with the lightest V12 color just to get the highlighted areas one last time. And then lastly, my last step for coloring hair always is to reestablish the darkest tone. So I'm taking that V09 all by itself, and I'm hitting the darkest shadowed areas Sorry for the blurriness there. My hand got in the way where the camera was focusing. But you can see here that I am just reestablishing those darkest tones. And you can see on the left side of the mane there how much of the darkest tone had gotten bleached out by those other lighter shades. So reestablishing those dark tones is really going to help make the whole image pop from the lightest tone to the darkest tone. That adds so much three-dimensionality, and you can see that the richness is really reestablished that way. This also gives me an opportunity to add extra flick marks, which I think adds to the realistic kind of hair texture. And I'm doing all of that pretty dark coloring because this last step is what I think adds the magic to this hair coloring. I'm adding little white dots with a white gel pen. I happen to be using a Uniball Signo white gel pen, but there are lots of other white gel pens. Use what works best for you. I like this one, and I also like the Sakura Jelly Roll pen. But adding different size dots, you can see occasionally I'll do a bigger dot and then a string of little dots. I think it makes the hair there look like it's pearlized or, bejeweled. And I'm just following along the curves of the mane, basically extending and following the lines of the stamped image. And I think it adds a real magic and a kind of a whimsy to this stamped unicorn image. Not that it needs more whimsy, but anyway, I'm adding dots to the tail as well, doing the same technique that I used for the mane. For the little ponytail, I am adding dots that follow all along the kind of swooping curves of the tail drawn stamped image. I hope you enjoyed this Copic coloring series episode number 12. And if you did, please give this video a thumbs up. Thanks so much for watching. I hope you guys are having a wonderful crafty day.